All right, let's go. So, Mina, so good to be here in this podcast studio having this conversation with you. And we wanted to drop into a conversation about our lives and our creative processes because it's something that we share so much behind the scenes and in our personal lives. And we share snippets at times with people we love in our communities, but it's a chance to drop a little bit deeper into what creativity means for us, what co-creation and connection means to us, and just really explore this interweaving dance of relationship and creation that we share and means so much to both of us. So firstly, hi. And naming that, this is in some ways feeling a little bit nervous and fresh for both of us to be stepping back into this space of being seen in this way. We did a podcast conversation a couple of years ago on Leaders with Heart, where we spoke about you as a creative especially. That was, almost 2 years ago now. Since then, a lot's happened. We've become parents to beautiful Essie, and we've also had a lot of change and evolution in our creative lives as well. So let's start this conversation by just reflecting on what's changed as we've become parents and really grown over these last couple of years together. Is there anything you want to say just to land in this space and conversation?
Yeah, I think, given that your podcast was called Leaders with Heart, I find it interesting that was more of an expression of, more of a conversation around leadership. And while that essence is still in our work, I feel like this conversation is steering towards partnership. And even though that was already present previously, that podcast was, Leaders with Heart. And here we are speaking to how we have co-navigated a lot of time together in partnership. And I'm really excited about seeing what has shifted and also what's remained constant in our relating.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So we're on a different ship, is what you're saying.
We're on a different ship. We've moved. Well, we haven't moved, but, the central focus being leadership before, and now really wanting to lean in and speak deeper around our relationship and partnership. And
yeah, beautiful. Well, I think what's really interesting to me about the parenting journey is that thinking back to prior to becoming parents and the unknown that big transition brought with it was that I had a lot of fear about am I going to still be able to do all of the things that I want to do, and how am I going to juggle creativity and my business and all the things that are important to my expression into the world with the responsibility and time of being a parent, and also still prioritizing our relationship and all the things. I think this is something that probably most people that have that change in their life feel. And I remember some people told me leading up to it that something comes in, some kind of divine support often comes in to just make it all possible, even with less feeling of time. There's some kind of magic that just comes in to just amplify that creativity. And that's definitely felt true for us. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah. I think I remember you saying it's like the abundance will just flow in, whether that's in the form of inspiration or family support or, the privilege of being able to be around loved ones in different countries at different times. It's sort of expressed itself in different ways, but the support has definitely been there, and we've been leaning into that trust as well. I definitely resonate with that.
Yeah, and I guess quick bit of context, for anyone who doesn't know us personally, or maybe they don't know our full story. We gave birth, or you gave birth. I was in the room when you gave birth to Esmeralda, our incredibly beautiful daughter, about 21 months ago, coming on 2 years old. And in that time, from my side of things, I wasn't writing my own music and putting it out there. to the degree I am now. Like I've really embraced the path of being a music producer as a full-on profession alongside my leadership business. I've had all these opportunities in that space of expanding my creativity, and it doesn't make any sense to me how I've had that amount of space and progress, given that really my first job over the last 2 years has been dad, right? Like that's been the thing that I've given most of my time to, and yet my business has grown, and my creativity has gone from a very small seed to something that's feeling really expansive now. And I look at your path, and there's been a very different journey, but there's been similar themes with that too. I see all the different tentacles and arms that are growing from your creativity. Do you want to speak to your version of that?
Yeah, I think I come at it from a different lens and different background because, I did come from that formal actor training and performance making history. And I was at a point of feeling like on the cusp of yet another evolution of what my career would look like. I was sort of in this space of like, how do I pivot or fit all my different passions together and integrate them into offerings and things like that. And then to discover that I was pregnant was a real shock to the system and an invitation to surrender and pause in that moment. And simultaneously, the artist, never died. The creative has always been there and has been an inner ally to navigate the shock and the acceptance of pregnancy and parenthood. And yeah, it's just been really beautiful for me to experience how creativity and my practice continuously supports me in my well-being and my way of processing, I guess, these changes that I was initially resisting. So while there was this sense of grieving the past versions of me and what I thought I could put out into the world, there has also been an incredible amount of possibility and potential that I'm just scratching the surface of and trusting that in divine time it will unfold. But what I also love is in the home getting to witness and feel your energy being invested into these creative projects and seeing you come alive in what lights you up as a creative that you've always been, but now, redefining yourself in that way and going from accountant in that corporate background to, really seeking what sets your heart on fire, and then to find you in this space of wanting to produce and bring forth the same vein of artistry as me, but maybe through different forms, with you and music production and DJing, and me with poetry and creating these multidisciplinary events. It's just nice to really be able to feel like there's a synergy that's building within the home. And it's very much infused into how we parent as well, because I think Essie is consistently immersed in creative expression in a very playful and experimental way. It comes through in me just kind of sharing jingles in the kitchen, trying to get her to eat certain foods, or, us playing musical instruments and things around her. It just feels very natural. I think that dance of the professional and the personal. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I've noticed and I've experienced.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I really hear when you share that, like the reciprocity and the dance of give and receive, not just in our relationship, but also in our relationship with creativity, right? Like I was sharing more like how my personal journey has been like really fueling my creativity, and you're sharing how your creativity has been really supporting your personal journey, and like that back and forth dynamic has been like really important. I'm really learning a lot from you about that, because I never really saw myself as a creative. As an accountant, being a creative accountant is not seen as a good thing. And I didn't think I had any creative burns in my body until I was probably 31 and just consciously chose to shatter that limiting belief, because I just didn't see it as something that was in my story for this lifetime. But now I'm realizing more and more that we all have that within us. It's just a matter of how much we water it. But I look at you and you've had a whole lifetime of nurturing that seed of creativity. And I'm very inspired by just your mindset and your relationship with creativity as a whole. And like you said, it definitely comes into parenting. Like I see the way that you just prioritize beauty with Essie in the home and prioritize that sense of togetherness, right? And whereas, for me, like I'm still partially coming from the paradigm of like progress and safety and like the sense of getting stuff done, which, they work together, right? In some ways, we're talking about divine masculine and feminine energies holding a container in partnership. But like I really have enjoyed learning and building my own muscle in prioritizing beauty, prioritizing joy, and really seeing that feed creativity in all the different forms.
Yeah, I also want to say, when you say prioritizing beauty, it's not like a neat house and like it's not about things looking a certain way. It's very much about what is the beautiful experience that we want to create. What are the moments we want to cherish and how can we bring in more of that poetry into our lives? Yeah. And I'm just really grateful that you're receptive of that.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, even today when we were just at the buffet at the hotel we're staying at, and, I even told myself, like, I'm actually not hungry. Like, I'm not craving a certain food. I'm just trying to eat poetry. Like, I'm trying to find something of a deeper, symbol. And then in the end, I ended up taking the pandan kaya because I have an affinity for what pandan means to me in, rituals and things like that. So, it's nice that you appreciate that and you can value, I guess, how I hold significance to certain things.
We're really continuing to navigate and continuing to learn about relationship and how we can hold the tension of polarity, the tension of opposites, and like honor both, but like weave them together. And we were joking about how you can probably speak about this better than I can, but you did an astrological analysis of our particular charts and our particular makeup. And one of the things that stood out was that my nature is to like to do things alone and now, and your nature is to like to do things together and beautifully. And that really resonated because I'm very much about like, let's just get it done. Why not? And like sometimes that feels for me more grounded if I actually can just step away, just be in my own energy and just be really clear. Whereas I know how much for you, doing it together is one of your highest values, and doing it beautifully is right up there as well. Yeah. Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, I think beauty for me is synonymous with relationship, and relationship is creativity for me. I don't think you can create without relating. So beauty, creativity, and relationship are the essence of my being and how, I want to operate in this world. And so any opportunity to dance with someone else's energy and mind and expression and create something new or transform something into something else is always something that I'm usually a yes to, especially with someone that speaks the same language as me and wants to create the same sort of beauty in the world. And the charts I was looking at is, they're called synastry charts, looking at the synergy and how we complement each other. And that sense of you wanting to be in the studio working on your music, and me kind of harboring this desire of me being in there with you and creating something together. So it's been a lesson and an opportunity for me to give you that space, and also, balance that desire of wanting to do things together and celebrating you in your independent artistry. And there is a part of me that values that part of me too. And they can coexist. And that balancing act is something that sometimes is a bit more of a challenge for us, and sometimes we're really supportive of each other's individual pathway, I guess, in artistry.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I think like it feels like sometimes I notice with the desire to co-create in terms of our artistry and like maybe make some music together or these kind of things, like I have the desire there, but I'm not feeling fully, like I'm feeling a bit insecure about my own ability to hold that, you know, in a way that would do it justice. And so I'm feeling safer in, if I just go into my own cocoon and do this, then great. There's no way to really get it wrong or mess it up because I'm not affecting anyone else. There's no form of potential judgment or having to deal with someone else's insecurities as well. It's just like I can just be in that cauldron and deal with it on my own. The lone wolf mentality has definitely been a big thing for me over the years that, has served me in ways, but also I'm choosing to step out of more and more. And then I'd also notice like, so a lot of people, including, my dad says this to me a bit, which is beautiful, that our parenting journey and like the creation of Essie and her life and helping bring her into the world is the greatest creative act we will ever do. And I feel, there's a this and that, a true thing with that, right? Where that is true. Like that is just something we're eternally creating together. There's no way we can ever not be co-creating that together. And there's all these other opportunities to bring beauty and creativity together. But like you said, it's that balance of how are we feeling that the me, you, and us are all being honored. Different points. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's hard to not have a conversation sometimes where me as a mother is not the thing that's the most, I guess, forefront in someone's mind. It's always like questions in relation to how am I feeling or doing in that role of mothering. And I just feel like there's an opportunity there to dissolve the dissolve the box between mother and artist and that sort of thing. And that's helped me as well when I have those moments of like, I haven't created anything in a while, or I haven't put myself out there, or I'm not, collaborating on anything with anyone. I'm definitely collaborating in something with you in real time in terms of our parenthood journey. And I also, co-created a beautiful daughter in my body, and no one can take away that truth and that poetry, no matter what my inner voices tell me when I'm being a bit more critical and judgmental of the lack of achievements in that field. It's a truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that comes up for me hearing that is the element of time as well, right? And like the long game that parenting is, like, like, I don't know if this still holds true with the current cryptocurrency markets. We've got a friend who says like, we're in the phase of we're collecting Bitcoin and it maybe hasn't like fully reached its potential yet, but like we've got this thing that's that in time will yield its fruits. But with parenting, there is a truth in the fact that there is so much energy and time that is channeled into this other being to give them the best start possible, and it's a really delicate and powerful time that is finite, right? So I'm grateful that we were given that so much priority, and then over time that balance will shift again, right? And we will have more opportunities to keep stepping into the other elements of creativity again, which we're already doing, but more and more. And that same dance of relationship and give and receive, like the amount of creativity that Essie sparks in us is beautiful and incredible, right? The way her brain works just blows my mind. And I mean, for starters, I feel like I laugh with her like more in a day than like ever before, just because she's so funny and so like just pure in the way she goes about the world, like the connections she makes. You shared, a little story the other day of her like flicking through a mermaid book and pointing at the different mermaids and saying, that one's like Lynn, Nisa, like pointing different like mermaids and identifying, and then finding this tiny little fish next to it and being like, Dada.
Yeah.
And like just those kind of out of the box connections, I think, are a big part of creativity, right? It's like, it's not the obvious logical thing. It's just the thing that kind of brings joy in the moment, and is like that, she's definitely a powerful teacher in this, right? For me at least, and I see for you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important, even though she's really young, I've been mindful of not kind of imposing a certain aesthetic on her. Like, she does happen to resonate with mermaids, which I love, but I wasn't going to name her something that I wanted to be called, for instance. Not everyone, but some people thought I was going to give her a name that was more reflective of the sea. Pearl or something, because of my affinity to the ocean. But I really want to hold that potential for her to really to really explore and discover herself and how she wants to be in the world. And just to approach it with curiosity and adaptability and openness. And I think that's also a great way of viewing, artistic practice, to be open to what's changing.
Yeah.
And to not be as resistant, but to be a bit more, curious.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah. And I'm hearing this like openness to allowing ourselves to be created in the process, allowing ourselves to be molded and shifted. And there's a surrender element to that too, right? Like, just again, speaking about Essie, like, and obviously this is true for the two of us as well, but just bring her into this conversation. Like, I'm changing so much, and I'm being molded into the person that she needs as her dad. And like, I'm very sure that a big reason that I've been given so much divine support and opportunity on the path of music, and really a calling into it, is because she is calling in an environment where music is given so much priority, and she has people around her that can transmit those skills and love for music, so that can be part of her path as well. Like, she obviously has a deep affinity to music, and I'm sure many, if not all, kids do, but she really gravitates towards it in all the ways, right? And I really feel as though, like, some of the skills I've learned as a producer, like, even if not fully yet, is a big part so that I can share those with her and create worlds for her to play in as well. It's exciting.
Yeah, I love that. It reminds me of this thing I did a few years ago. I think it was during the lockdown time, and I did some kind of like sound journey. I don't want to say meditation, but it was just this like story about two mermaids going into an underwater kingdom, and I decided to give it to my cousin for his children to listen to. It just kind of, makes me think of that and, what that could look like in your kind of, through your lens and your imagination. So, I think her freedom of expression is really inspiring,
Yeah.
especially in moments where I'm really feeling like not a creative block to create, but a creative block to even release and be seen, and to share, creativity and that artistry. Her freedom of expression, her innocence in that, as you mentioned, and her delight. Like, she is purely playing for the sake of playing and exploring, and she's caring a lot less than me about what the world might think of her. And I want to really anchor into that because she's consistently reflecting that back to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. I want to just go on a little bit of a rant for a moment, if I can, which is that, like we've come, the last podcast conversation we had was on the leadership. We're on the relationship now, but that part of my life is still very important to me, the leadership side of things. I actually describe it as I have my two arms. This arm, which has a full sleeve tattoo, is designed to represent the beauty and creativity and the divine feminine and all of that side of my expression. And then this arm doesn't yet have anything on it, but at some point I see having a strong representation of my divine masculine expression, which is that service and purpose and impact and my business as well in the leadership space. And when I tune into the real importance of leadership and what the seed and the essence within that is, like for me at least, it's about making the world a better place. It's about moving from one place into the future, into another place. And for that to be more aligned with the heart and soul so that it's a place of more of the experiences and emotions that we're choosing. Not that there's a better or worse, but just this is conscious choice and creation, right? And ultimately, for me, I see that at the heart of positive change in the world are children. It's the next generation of humans. Imagine if we had a whole generation across the entire world that didn't experience any war, that didn't experience any trauma of any significant kind. Maybe they experienced just enough to have the growth and the challenges that they need to become resilient in the ways they need to. But the real challenges that have been difficult for people to overcome within their lifetime, which have been perpetuated generation after generation, they didn't experience that, the world that would be created. I believe it would be one of beauty and art and music, and it would be one where the experiences of play and joy are really prioritized. So in some ways, whilst I have this purpose arm of my life of creating positive ripples through the world through helping leaders become more heart-centered and service-oriented in how they lead their teams and their people, in other ways, I feel like by creating music and by putting out joyful and conscious frequencies into the world, that is actually my greatest act of leadership, because that's the end result that I'm actually shooting for. Mm-hmm. I'm going straight to the source. So this is, again, Essie's just doing this automatically. She's not even thinking about this or trying to do anything. She's just being. But for me as an adult who's trying to navigate some form of purpose and journey in life, there's both the conscious element of how I'm trying to do it in the world, and then there's just the returning to the being and returning to the joy and the creativity that's innate within all of us.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, both of your hands are two pillars. Rather than seeing them as separate, for me, I'm kind of imagining like a circuit, right? And they're just sort of flowing through one another, informing one another, and through the heart. Like I don't know a lot about meridians, but I believe there is like a point that connects your fingertips to your heart space, and there's just something in that image for me that really lands. That service can be artistic expression, and vice versa. I find it hard to separate the two because I do feel like that is part of my own purpose, is to really share my love for creativity.
Yeah.
So I see it as more of a
Yeah.
flow.
Love that. Yeah, I've heard it said there's two paths available. One is to fight against the world that we see that we don't want, and the other is to build the world of beauty that we do want, right? And it's like sometimes it's the same action, but it's just, where's it coming from? Is it coming from resistance and judgment and lack of acceptance because I'm not feeling okay and safe in how this is? Or is it coming from, okay, great, beautiful, this is how it is, and that's actually beautiful already, and how do I want to make this even more beautiful? Like, how do I want to contribute my piece to the mandala so that it has that essence of continued expansion and beauty? Yeah.
Yeah, I can speak to parts of that in terms of, choosing to create things that are of a more beautiful, loving, playful nature instead of feeding more of art and media that evokes horror or shock or fear in someone's system. I mean, that's me speaking personally in terms of what I do. Just to give a bit of context, this is my experience of a bit of the performing arts scene, and I'll speak more about film, what I'm just noticing, especially when I'm on Netflix or something, just the amount of horror, even if it's not a genre, there's just this element of darkness and horror and thought-provoking, unsettling work that I no longer can stomach. So maybe in my 20s, and maybe before becoming a mother, or before certain, conflicts have erupted in the world, I might have been able to at least witness it, critique it, even enjoy it. But now I can't actually stomach some of the material that I was also a part of in some ways in my earlier 20s. So I feel like my work has been a bit of a resistance to conforming my work to fit that landscape of entertainment. I just feel like dark comedies are really getting their platform right now. And I don't want to buy into that. I don't want to feel like my work needs to be like that to be seen or to be valued. Because the number of times I've said, all right, I'll try this TV show, and then have had it have a lasting impression on me, like a scarring one, that then impacts my mental health, my well-being, and ability to be present for my daughter. There's just been too many times that's happened in the last few years. And so it's been really important for me to create and curate a world that I want to actually feel safe and beautiful in. So sometimes I have this insecurity around being seen as cringy or too love and light or too fairy tale or too Disney or too whatever. And no one's actually telling me that, but I'm digesting enough media to be like, that's not what's wanted in the world, and this is too light, and you're not representing the state of the world, or you're not I guess you're not being real. That those sort of stories linger in my head a little too long sometimes and stop me from actually creating the work that I want to do. But this active choice to choose to bring in more love and beauty in my artistry is helping me, and in turn helping those around me, and hopefully others that are inspired by my work. So I want to keep swimming in that current rather than what's currently popular.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear it, and I'm kind of digesting it through the lens of music because that's kind of what I'm more familiar with, and like so I'll provide the counterpoint, I guess, and I'd love to hear your reflection on it. With say music, let's say an ecstatic dance set, right? Like the point of an ecstatic dance set that I like to bring in is a journey, and it often can be based on the hero's journey of going through like into the underworld, into the darkness, and then facing the demons, and then coming back out into the regular reality with this sense of finding the gold within the darkness. And therefore, some of the music that I like to choose for some of the peaks and the real moments of tension, because a lot of the time it's that dance of tension and release, can have that darker feel about them, but it's with the intention of bringing resolution to that by the end of the journey. And, the other perspective that I heard about that I applied to music, which I thought was really interesting, is hearing, I think it was the podcast, The Emerald, they were talking about how, about the function of war in society, and how that for the longest time, going back to when we were, basically primates, and or we're still primates, but when we were still pre-Homo sapiens, and we were living in the jungle or wherever on the plains, and constantly in the dance of predator and prey, right? There's a constant reality of, okay, we're either going to need to go kill something or we've got to be on guard to be killed. And then over time, that's transitioned into us being in more tribal societies where there's different factions, and then there's the risk of, okay, there might be war between humans that comes. And so then as society has become more peaceful, what they were saying was something along the lines of the body somatically is still needing that release of what it means to go into those states of intensity and survival and real the chaos. And if we don't get that release, then humans actually will find a way to create it, and it has often been done through creating war, right? So that they can still go into that combat to feel that sensation. I imagine this is present for men to a larger degree than women, but it was spoken as a more biological thing. And now bringing it back to music, what I thought was really interesting here is because when people speak about healing music or conscious music, often my association with that is, okay, it's all the love and light music. It's all the crown chakra. It's the real high frequencies and the, the beautiful songs, those kind of ones that sound a bit better than what I just did. But what I realized in that is okay, wow, so the bangers, the heavy bass bangers that just make you get down and just let loose and just feel that primal, visceral feeling of let's go. They can actually serve that purpose for us of bringing out that ritualized sense of release and catharsis. And so the darker, heavier music can actually serve its place as a healing tool as well. But again, the intention that comes into it is quite important as well. Does that apply at all to how you see film and TV and how those things work?
I get the concept
Yeah.
and the intentionality, and I do allow myself to go to those spaces as well and get into that gritty, darker space sometimes.
I've seen you on the dance floor, so.
Yeah, I feel like there is need for darkness and light, and both reflect the beauty of the other. I'm just always going to speak in relation.
Yeah.
In that relationship kind of mentality. But maybe what I'm experiencing is a greater imbalance and therefore a stronger resistance within me to spend a lot of time in that space. And when I say space, like that's super subjective to interpretation of like what darkness even is. And that's why I'm using words like horror and, you know, like cinematic expressions that are meant to be thought-provoking and spine-tingling and gut-churning. Words that show the somatic impact, I guess, like, you know, the bodily experience of something. Yeah, that's sort of my way of gauging what's right for me in this time. Because I do appreciate darker material, for lack of a better term. But I think you're right. Intentionality is important here. And, you know, in the past, I've played roles like a hungry ghost and have been given auditions, like really disturbing ones, like a necrophiliac and, you know, all of these things. And I'm like, why is this coming to me? What am I putting out there? Like, what's the energy I'm giving off, but also what's being written? And so there was a time where I was like, I can play that. I can tap into that. All of us can. And then I eventually went, enough is enough. I actually don't want to do any of this work. And if it means less work in the industry and seeming a bit picky, then I'm going to just accept that. And keep making what I like.
I love that.
Because I was like, there's a lot of dark roles here coming in, whether it's like a Hollywood, you know, Amazon Prime, whatever it was. I was like, oh my God, it's another dark character. And I can play this and I've done it before, but can we show different aspects of the human psyche? And that's what I'm choosing to do a bit more these days. The
words that stood out to me when you shared that were imbalance and subjectivity. And like imbalance, I think, is a really insightful point because, you know, when in this podcast they're talking about the ritualized ways to express this and how, you know, tribal societies would engage in, you know, dance around the fire and like ritualized combat and different things like that. But that wasn't 24/7. That was like specific moments to have that cathartic release and then come back to the more peaceful every day. And I do also feel what you're saying, that like there does feel that becoming more the norm of like this is more in some ways normalized the darkness, and then it becomes a thing of like, okay, great, like yes, we can experience it to release it and to honor it and to like give it its moment, but at what point does it shift into feeding it and like nurturing that as the seed of what life is primarily about? So I think that's a really interesting point you raise. The other one, subjectivity, something, you know, we were speaking about before this around the subjectivity of art in general, right? And like that we have an intention we bring into our art, but then how it's received by someone we can't actually dictate or even understand sometimes. And so, like sometimes that the way that what's being put out there might also be a reflection of society and how society is receiving it, and also back to the individual, right? How we're receiving it. Because we've both had that recently, right? Where we've both released a piece of art and then the reflections we got back from people were quite different to what we were expecting. You mentioned with Water Has Her Way With Us, your beautiful poetic track representing the cycle of water that just is just an absolute masterpiece and really incredibly brings this sonic landscape to the entire water cycle, and then your words just absolutely take you on a journey. Do you want to speak about the contrast between what you were intending, the feeling, and then some of the reflections?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Water Has Her Way With Us has been my latest release, and it was designed to be a warm, sensual track to bring the body into the mix when it comes to listening to it. And a lot of people did feel that.
Yeah, for sure. I think you said the intention when I listened to it was I was not allowed to get out of bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
but also not fall asleep.
But not fall asleep.
It was a very Jigglypuff moment, right? We joke about the Pokemon Jigglypuff who sings these beautiful lullabies and puts her opponents to sleep and then gets angry because they fell asleep during her performance.
That's me. That's me. And I'm still trying to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because people like to say, oh, your poetry is so relaxing. I just want to close my eyes and I just want to, travel, disappear, melt, whatever. And I do love that. I love that impression and that, response. But with this particular one, I wanted the body to be connected to it. So it wasn't this escapist or opportunity to kind of forget the body and just go somewhere. It was very intentional with the language I was using, the sound production, and a lot of people did, respond in the way that I wanted. But again, you can't control that. But yeah, this friend said, you'd make a great meditation teacher. And that really irked me because I really didn't want to be thrown into a Zen yoga meditation playlist. Not that I have any issue with those playlists because I listen to them as well. But I just really wanted it to play in that lo-fi R&B, this could be a bedroom playlist if someone wanted it to be, because I was inspired by eros and intimacy when I was creating it. So I was like, this would be ideal if a couple listened to this and just had a cozy line, a cozy love-in in their bed on a rainy day. And it would evoke a sense of connection with one another. And so I don't know, him saying, oh, you'd make a great meditation teacher. And this really felt like an exploration of grief being channeled and eventually released. Yeah, my first impression was, oh, okay, that's not what I want to use it for. But then again, anyone can take a piece of art and make it work for them. And for him, that was important in terms of his personal journey, I assume. And that's what he got out of it. But it's funny how just those little reflections suddenly make you cling on to an identity as well that maybe you're trying to project. And yeah, it lends itself to that opportunity of releasing control, which is something I think you have as a creative to a point. And then there's that opportunity to surrender and be open to the beautiful interpretations that can come with that. Does that speak to your point?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it spoke to me having the exact opposite experience at the same time.
Yeah.
And I released my most recent track, Kairos Hymn, which, I wrote as an ode to the decay of time. And it was designed to, from my perspective, I was hoping to invoke these deep feelings of grief and wailing and letting out this emotion, and had this intention of sitting back and watching the bombs drop on the world and watching the world crumble, and then but actually tuning into the beauty of just the world and life and time, and just seeing these ruins that we go now to travel to as tourists and admire and feel awe-inspired by, but watching the whole process and feeling that level of awe, grief, and wonder at the same time. And then people start reflecting back to wow, that was such a beautiful, relaxing track. I felt really down-regulated and just very calm. And thank you for helping me feel so zen. I'm it's supposed to be a banger, man. What are you talking about? But ultimately, I appreciated that it landed with someone. Maybe not in the way I originally intended, but now I can also see it through their lens and go, oh yeah, okay, cool. Means I might put it at a different point in my set, not at the peak or anything like that. I can put it at a stage where it really reflects what not only I was intending, but also how people are relating with it, because that's a learning for me of being able to listen to the people including, you know, an audience that I'm relating with. And yeah, from, you know, the perspective of, you know, the lone wolf and the person who likes to do things alone now, like, and just, you know, I was an only child is probably some important context. Like I very much have been on the journey of learning how to like connect with and relate with others and understand others and really open up my space to allow in multiple viewpoints and all these different things, share. And it gives me more access to more beauty when I can do that. And there's at times a letting go that is difficult in that as well. So I feel, and that's the dance, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah, of holding on and letting go, and yeah, the individual and the partnership. And I really feel that, you know, dance present between us, but it's also heightened sometimes with the kind of work we make. And as you said, you're really romanticizing the fragility of life and how it corrodes and crumbles and the impermanence of it. And sometimes that can be a real nerve that's, you know, is triggered in me and my discomfort and queasiness around ephemerality at times. And you're someone that really celebrates death and rebirth and transformation, and going into the void and trusting in that space of nothingness. And sometimes that is a scary thing for me to feel. I think it kind of brings up some abandonment wounds and things like that. But again, it's this beautiful mirror of the impermanence of life, and that dance of, you know, creating everlasting moments throughout time, and bringing that preciousness to it, and seeing the sacredness of that. So I'm really grateful that you do mirror that to me, even when sometimes it's a little bit unsettling.
Well, again, we're talking about sometimes the polarities here, right? And sometimes the dance that we see ourselves doing is fire and water as well, right? Or even mermaid and dragon. Like that's these archetypes that we both feel very strongly within ourselves. You as the mermaid and me as the dragon. And I, you know, I'm leaning into my merman, but definitely, you know, from birth, I've kind of been like given particular traits, and you know, I'm born year of the dragon, and daughter is as well, and all these other things. And yeah, it's funny. Like I'm walking around the house quite often,
looking
like,
for things to burn,
almost daily, going like, that chopping board's a little bit old. I could probably come with you on the next camping trip and end up in the fire.
Yeah.
All this paperwork. Do we need that? I'm not sure. But it sometimes, is a little bit of a, you know, there's a little bit of a simplification process, and, you know, minimalism, which I know is something that you don't particularly resonate with in some forms. But then, for me, it's that, like, there's a sense of, like, simplification and focus that I relate to in the burning and the purging. And then I also see, like, you know, you said at the start of this conversation that you, even though you prioritize beauty so much, like that doesn't always look like, I'm going to say, order, right? Like a neat, tidy home. Like, and I see that with creativity, right? It's like I feel there's two sides. Sometimes for me, having a blank canvas and just a clear headspace is exactly what I need to create. Other times it's like having all these random parts just around that can somehow form some unique combinations and permutations. Is like, okay, that's actually going to spark creativity to a higher degree. And there's beauty in that as well.
Yeah, I do see the beauty in purifying and cleansing a space by, you know, burning what is no longer serving you. And that's something, you know, that's a practice that I lean into more and more. And yeah, kind of starting from that 0 point and trusting in that. That's something that you definitely bring to the table and has also informed, the transition from maiden to mother. I don't really like how dichotomous that is. But yeah, just really surrendering to transformation, because that I do notice where I'm clinging on and resisting change. And you really help with alchemizing that and trusting in what's to come from that blank canvas.
Well, you mentioned the void before. One of my biggest beliefs around that is that, because I've experienced it multiple times at a very life-changing level, where once I've burned and cleared and made space in my life and then opened up a void, opened up a level of spaciousness and nothingness in my life, it may have taken a moment of waiting, months sometimes, but then there's this saying that nature abhors a vacuum. So nature can't stand a vacuum, like an empty space. And so what I've experienced is, in that spaciousness, the universe has then gone, okay, well, let's fill it. But let's fill it with what's fully aligned with this person right now, not with what was aligned for them 10 years ago or 1 year ago or yesterday. Like, what's aligned with them right now. And my experience has been, it hasn't been possible if that's been cluttered up with things from the past. And that's one perspective. I also see your other perspective of things from the past are beautiful. If let's bask in and enjoy those memories as well, because that's a present moment experience that we have too. And that's something that I learn in our dynamic from you.
Yeah, I hold on to what I treasure.
Yeah.
And I do have a lot of material, but these days I can back myself in that and just say, I have a lot of material around me because a lot of things mattered to me.
Yeah, you care
They
deeply.
matter to me. They care deeply. I care deeply,
It's a
about
Mermaid
them.
Cove treasure trove. Like when I watch Little Mermaid and see Ariel's
All her things. That's
it makes
me and
sense.
my bag, right? Like, how many things do I have in my bag that I just don't take out?
Yeah.
But they do create a sense of security in me, and I want to own that and be okay to need things to anchor me to a place. Even today, we don't have any of my crystals out, which is kind of rare.
Yeah.
And and it's a bit edgy. I'm like, where's my mermaid statue, or where's my crystal? But I can also trust that everything is here, in terms of what's needed for this conversation.
Meanwhile, I've got my little dragon and
And
little
you've
duck.
got your figurines out. So I think that's also like a visual testament to how we learn and respect one another's choices
Yeah.
in terms of what makes things beautiful and safe.
Yeah. Beautiful. So, as we draw towards the end of the conversation, are there any topics or anything else that we haven't discussed that you want to bring into this portal?
Kind of just want to throw it back to you and see what's alive for you.
Yeah, well,
or what feels resonant.
I guess I'm feeling like there's, that part of me that's always looking forward as well, and like, okay, what's next for us? Like there's, here we are in April 2026, and you've just recently had a successful launch of your poetry single, and I've been releasing music, and there's some exciting things on the horizon for both of us. Also a lot of unknown and space for whatever that is to come forward. If I speak from my side of things, I'm really excited about some of the collaborations I've got in the works and doing things together. I'm working more with other producers at this stage, but I think I counted the other day, I have 9 collaborative songs in progress, which were all sitting with other collaborators at that point. And then yesterday or the day before, I got one of them back, and it just lit me up just to see what this other guy, DM Trippy, had done with it, and just really reignited my fire to keep going on the musical path. And so I've got a few songs coming out over May and June, which I can't wait for. Got a show coming up in July called Sonic Temple with Temple Step Project and Alchemist, which I can't wait for. And starting to move more into playing more of my own original music. I've done that once already, a full original set. But that was a private show, and I'm excited for my first public show of that. And also playing ecstatic dance at the end of April with Ecstatic Dance Melbourne, which has been actually challenging to get back into the zone of DJing after focusing on producing for a solid year and a half. And I think it's because I'm entering a new chapter where I'm actually asking of myself and I'm being called to prepare less. My previous sets I've done have been 50 plus, sometimes 100 hours of preparation, crafting this, 1.5 hour plus masterpiece of just the perfect sequence of storytelling through music. And I'm proud of those, but I don't have the space for that anymore given my focus on production. And so I've been trying to do that for this next set. And I've got it to a degree. There's elements I'm really excited about, but there's also been a lot of resistance. And I feel like it's telling me that, like, you asked to show up and just improvise and be present and read the audience and really give the room what it's asking for in the moment. So do it. But it feels scary because there's obviously more uncertainty and more, it feels like a fear of failure coming up with that as well. So that's feeling edgy, but also exciting to step into a new chapter with that, because then I can play more shows and not have to balance that with, do I have space and time to give it what it needs? So they're the main things that are exciting for me musically. Maybe playing some shows over here in Malaysia in the middle part of the year as well, which are in the works. And working on a remix of Water Has Our Way With Us at some point. That's exciting too. How about you? What's lighting you up creatively at the moment?
I'm still milking the afterglow of my release.
Yeah.
I'm giving myself the permission to really relish every aspect of that and not have a cutoff point of when do I start talking about something else, because of how much it means to me and how much beauty I can see evolving from that creative project. So, just hearing back all of the different projects, it's such a contrast to me that really, my processes really take their time and I don't drop lots of things in I guess a more frequent way. I really ebb and flow and, wait till the tide comes in and out. So I did have my private single listening party of Water Has Her Way With Us, and that was a really gorgeous artist salon of different artists all sharing their music and poetry in response to the theme of water. And I am in the midst of organizing one here. It's still early days. I think I've secured the venue, but we'll see. But yeah, really
here
tuning.
Being Malaysia.
Here being in Malaysia. Yeah. And seeing how I can, carry the essence of that, but really be open and inspired to how that adapts and reveals itself within this landscape, these artists, this collaboration. So I'm excited about that. And hopefully that will be in June too. So yeah, I'm kind of in the space of creating that, collaborating with people, and also looking at, what do I have capacity for this year in terms of releasing anything else? I definitely have a lot of material. It's just about what goes into the studio and when. And I'm really trying to lean into that spaciousness, but I'm excited for that. And I'm excited for, what's to come. I think there are a few collaborations, not in the pipeline yet, but I can see them forming based on what I've put out there. And I think for me, I really want to touch on that fear of failure. I think that's something I definitely hold, whether I'm, open about it or not. That's something that concerns me. And I want to be less affected by that fear of failure and be bolder in my actions and really move when I want to move and not wait for an invitation or permission and, wait for someone to interview me about my art. I want to be able to have that sovereignty and, move when I want and speak when I want and share what I am passionate about. And, you know, I have noticed in this conversation, there's lots of other things I can speak to. And I want to trust that I will have those platforms if I allow myself to share my voice in that way. So, yeah, it's been a great practice and invitation, I think, for both of us to really step into the light a bit more, whether that's together beautifully or alone and now, and to celebrate each other on that journey. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I also noticed with your creativity that sometimes it comes in surprising and different ways. Like, you know, recently you recorded an audiobook. You were the voice actor for most of that book, and like there was other. You've also done a play reading or like a theatre production. I don't know the right words for it, but
script reading.
Script reading. Like there's been a lot of. It feels like there's a lot of other different like a garden that you're creating where there's various different plants that have each got their own seasons and their own maturation timelines in terms of when they'll start bearing fruit. But I really see that with you of like the diversity of your garden. And it's interesting, because again, for me, my path with creativity has been very much like keep pruning. Let's just get focused and even if we start to get like really broad within the focus, prune again, and we'll get more focused, and we'll keep going that way. So it's funny how different but complementary our paths have been and continue to be, there's so much beauty in that.
Yeah, just even in that, representation of pruning and gardening. That's so you.
Yeah.
Because I hold the perspective of I'm building and beautifying my coral reef of expression. That's all about color, sensation, collaboration, and reciprocity, and being up near the light. And I don't see myself as cultivating a garden as beautiful as that is. It's like it's just funny how it's the coral reef for me.
Yeah.
And trusting in the reciprocity of that. And also, I think that's just an important landscape for me to imagine, because I don't want to rely on hooks. I'm very intentional about not hooking people into my journey, my expressions. And so the more, I just focus on trusting that the right people will enter this coral reef of expression, the better. I'm not.
I even hear that like the mythology of sirens, right? It's like it's been demonized a little bit in terms of it lured people to shipwreck, but actually, if we think of it just in terms of the expression of it, it's a mermaid singing a song and people coming to it for the beauty, right? Rather than like a hook is like, get over here, you're mine, like violently taking something off its path. The siren is more, just, I'm going to sing, express my beauty, and if it calls you, I'm over here.
Yeah. So I'm going to focus on building my coral reef
and
unhooking myself from, things that I don't want to see or internalize, whether that's news or someone else's artistry or, I just really want to encourage sovereignty, surprisingly. Yeah,
beautiful. Well, is there anything else that we want to speak about or say to close this? Or any final thoughts or messages to share? I don't have anything. I just sort of asked the question. It feels like the right thing to say at the end of a podcast.
Sure. No, I just really want to take a moment to appreciate what we've gifted ourselves. And for me, it's a reflection of our relationship and our ability to see the beauty in it and to speak into the beauty. And it's just a beautiful practice of sharing what matters to us.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's really, honoring, our ability to create our life, not just our family, not just our creative pieces that are getting out into the world, but our experience on the daily and moment to moment. Like, we chose this, we created it, and here we are doing it. And some people might watch it, they might not. Whatever happens, it's ultimately, this has been a beautiful experience. And it's also opened up levels of conversation that we can always have, but we don't always have. So, grateful for that, and grateful for anyone listening, and thanks for co-creating with us as well. To be continued. Finished?
Finished.
Nice. Awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. We really enjoyed sharing it with you. If you wanted to stay connected with us and see any of our other stuff, you can find us on all the social media platforms. Emina is memina.poetess on Instagram. So that's MERMINA.POETESS. And I am chakaruna.worlds, CHAKARUNA.WORLDS. And we're also on Spotify and all the other places you find music. Thanks so much. Much love.